Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bliss Bite podcast. This is Reena, your host, and with us today is the amazing Maureen St. Germain with her brand new book. Maureen, show us a copy. Living Your Best 5D Life. I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a treat because the work you're doing is so important as well.
Aw, you're kind. Folks, Maureen and I go way back when I was first, this is gosh, almost now 6, 7 years ago, when I was first having my sort of spiritual crisis, as I would say. I was starting to unfold and really like the layers were peeling out, and I was looking left and right and not sure what I was doing. Maureen's Merkeba meditation came up because one of the first words I downloaded, actually the first word I ever downloaded after a meditation was Merkeba. I had been saying, there you go, beyond the flower of life. I had been asking in my meditation, I want to meet you. I want to meet you. Who are you? You've always protected me and been with me, and now you've healed me. I just want to meet you. And the word Merkaba kept coming. And so I went Googling, and Maureen is the definitive authority. She's been teaching, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, bless his heart, Drunlova?
Drunvalo.
Drunvalo. Thank you. Drunvalo's technique. And then, of course, Maureen has taken that to the next level. And I've done all of Maureen's Merkaba meditations. But today, we are going to do something interesting. We're going to, for those of you who are not even familiar with what 3D is, much less 5D, we're going to do the alphabet first. We're going to start with Maureen. Tell us a little bit about what is this 3D, 4D, 5D, and then we can switch into your new book, and we can go from there.
Sounds good. So 3D is the world that most of us live in most of the time, and it's the place where we have polarity, good and bad, right and wrong. It's a place where we make mistakes that we wish we could correct. So 3D is everyday life that you have been living, and it is a game. And this is something that's very challenging for people to begin to realize. But when you understand that the life you've been living is a game and it's an opportunity for you to grow and understand, not necessarily remedial, but to grow and learn from experiences. And so 3D is full of potholes, we'll call them. And I can remember one of my sons calling me on the phone, referring to basic training. And he said, Mom, some of the guys in my unit are totally freaking out. It's just a game. It's no different than a video game. And I thought, that's pretty cool coming from a 20-something. So as you look at your life, if you were to reinterpret it as a game, you would have a whole different way of thinking about it. Fourth dimension is a portal. It is a transition place. It's where you go when you want to get somewhere else. So you wouldn't go to Grand Central Station to spend the night, but you would go there if you wanted to go take a train somewhere. Same with the airport. You go to the airport. The airport's a portal. It's a way to get where you want to go. If you've ever watched any science fiction shows and they show people jumping dimensions or jumping into other areas, they use a portal. If it's the old story of Star Trek, they get in a transponder. In the newer versions, they show you walking down a tunnel with lights. So that's fourth dimension. Fourth dimension energetically is faster than third. What that means is when you get in an emotional state, you're very likely in fourth. So your emotions could be a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. And so it drives your energy, your emotional body drives your energy to a higher vibe, which slides you into a fourth dimensional state. It is a state of being or a vibrational data set. And equally in fourth, it still has polarity. So it still has beneficial energies that will take you higher and has energies that will keep you kind of stuck. So, and we've all had that happen. We've seen people who've had breakthroughs where they they go through some kind of crisis. Somebody important dies, they lose their job, they have a skiing accident, whatever it is, and they come out of it and choose life in a different way, and it becomes an inspiration for them that they didn't have before. So, many times people go through crisis so they can be on the other side of healing and come out the other side in a way to help others. And then fifth dimension is that yummy place that's like when you fall in love. So when you fall in love, what happens? You overlook other people's drama or their mistake. You overlook discourteous drivers on the road. And what happens is every choice you make is a good one. Everything you do or say is pleasing to everyone around you. And it's because when you're in fifth dimension, you're so plugged in to the reality that you automatically know what it is that needs to be done. We've all been at someone's house where they offer us something, a drink, a treat, and they'll say, "I just made this today," and you say, "That's amazing because that's my favorite." And how did you know that? And they say, "I don't know. I just felt like doing that." And the real reason is they're so plugged, when you're in fifth dimension, you're so plugged in with the universe, with the world around you, that even when you don't know how you know. And you're not only plugged into other people and situations, but you're aware of the earth, you're aware of your surroundings. And it's like looking at the sky and thinking, I probably should put the car in the garage or in the carport. And you think, but I got to take care of the laundry first. And then something compels you, no, let's take care of the car and get that out of the way. And then you suddenly have a sudden thunderstorm. So it doesn't mean things won't happen. And it doesn't mean you don't have choice. What it means is all the choices are at a level above what we used to do in everyday life. And they are above in the sense that we're always choosing something that is pleasing to me or to you.
I love that. And I genuinely believe that so many of us are transitioning from 3D to 4D to 5D that I guarantee you that half of those listening to this podcast are saying, "Oh my God, these things have been happening to me at a higher frequency. Things that used to bother me don't bother me anymore. I,
Exactly.
right? I'm much more forgiving, or the craziest miracles, come my way. The strangest things happen."
Right. And what's very nice about this is to begin to understand that moving from 3D to 5D, because you use 4D as a way to get to 5D very quickly, it's a sine wave. So that means you could be in 3D, which is the lower arc, and go up high into 5D and be there for a while and then slide back down and go back up. And the goal would be, of course, to stay in 5D all the time, which we are all doing. We're all becoming fifth dimensional, whether we're ready or not. And the idea is when you might not recognize when you're in 5D, but if you've been in 5D for a while and then you slide back into 3D, you notice that very quickly. Oh my God, what's going on? Why is everything falling apart? Why is she so angry? And then you realize, oh, I'm not holding that 5D vibe like I was earlier today. So we literally slide in and out of it. And, it reminds me of a story that my mother said to me when I was talking to her about one of my sons. This was the son that was always in trouble. I have 4 sons. And he was, cutting school, trying all kinds of things he shouldn't be trying. And I called my mom to tell her some wonderful thing that he had done that I was so proud of. And she said, "Well, honey, kids don't grow up in a straight line." And I said, "What does that mean?" I had no idea what she was talking about. And she said, "Well, when they do something mature, they usually follow it with something really stupid." So it prepared me in a way that I had not even thought of, and parenting isn't really taught anywhere. You get it from what you learned, how you were treated when you were a child. And if you
Exactly.
have a good relationship with your parents, they may help you like my mom did, verbally help me understand what was going on around me. It just never occurred to me. Another thing that never occurred to me in raising my children was that I would have to help them figure out their emotions. You don't have to tell a child how to walk. They figure it out. You don't have to tell a child first crawl and then walk. Children just do it without any coaching from me. But with emotions, they needed my help. And
Yes.
most kids do. And as a parent, that was it. I was unprepared for that. I was happy to do it, but I didn't know I needed to do it until I had a little drama going on, and I realized, oh my gosh, they don't know how to deal with that yet. So that's a
Exactly.
fascinating thing.
And that, Maureen, is what all of humanity looks like right now, right? You're the mother who is being asked to provide guidance to all these kids. And everyone's at a different stage. There's some that are, going from 3D to 4D, and some that are going from 4 to 5 and having a hard time anchoring. And then there are the 5Ds anchored that keep falling down. And your book, Living Your Best 5D Life, Timeless Tools to Achieve and Maintain Your New Reality. I think it's at such a perfect time because it truly is for people like me that one day I am at the highest of the highs. And then the next, I'm feeling like I don't belong here. What just happened? So you're exactly right. I'm following that wave. And at some point, I'd like the wave to stabilize.
And
Um,
it will.
right? And the
Well,
question is, what work do we need to do? Now, before we dive into this, I do have a question. What has,
okay.
what has come to me in through my meditations is that while we always talk about different lokas in Vedas, right? Like the different lokas or the different places or the different dimensions, actually everything is just right here. It's all here. There's
Exactly.
no there. Right? So
It's
even, right? So everything is here. So even when I am saying, well, now I'm in 5D because I'm literally hugging someone that stole money from me. And now I'm in 3D because I'm arguing with my mom about something silly, right? Like I can tell the difference, but it's all me. And so what it means is that am going through, I'm going in and out of dimensions in the now,
Mhm.
in the
Yeah,
now, which is a
it's
hard concept to catch.
one way to do it is to think about a radio. You're the radio, and you can dial whatever station you want.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful analogy. That's a wonderful analogy. The visual that comes to me is actually, well, first of all, we're not even here. The whole thing's a hologram, hallucination, density of speed, of vibration, right? So we're kind of like the way you would say, there's water and ice and wood vapor. We're kind of like our core is really a vapor, and we've sort of solidified, and we're looking at the ice version of us, which is like a solidified version of us. But imagine, the vapor version of us is so open and free, and the ice version of us is like frozen in place, and we're stuck with limitations. And now we are going between this ice, water, vapor, ice, water, vapor. It's almost like we're going in and out of these
Yeah.
states.
Yeah, that's a nice metaphor. It's a great way to try to wrap your arms around it or wrap your brain around it. Very nice.
Right? Because that's just who we are. And so my question to you is, do the solar flares have something to do with this? Because I see it in my own intrinsic body. I feel like whenever I see the CMEs are hitting, my body goes a little nuts. And I'm just wondering if there is a connection.
There is a connection. And what we want to think about is humans are very sensitive creatures, and we're sensitive to the vibrations around us. We're sensitive to the bad vibes in a room where somebody just had an argument and then left. We're sensitive to a feeling like I'm not going to work today. I don't know why, but I'm just not going to be able to do that. And the solar flares are part of our environment. And so they are impacting us to wake up, to expand and broaden our horizons. But a lot of times people feel like, I got to shut down. So it's a little bit like the intensity of the energy is big enough that even though it triggers you, I'll use the word frightens you because it's unfamiliar. So with regard to that, even if we shut down temporarily because it frightens us, it has still activated us. And it does make it easier then the next time we meditate to go higher, to be more plugged in, to experience the reality with purity.
Beautiful. I love that. Let's dive into your book. So, what I love doing when we do book reads is very quickly going through the chapter titles because that gives our audience a good teaser of what the core content is. So your chapters are, and now I'm just going to go real quick over these, making 5D work every day. And I love that chapter because it was so specific. 5D tools for transforming your environment, transformation of beliefs, changing the paradigm, crossing over. And I love that because it really is crossing over.
Really, I wasn't crazy about the fact that my editors changed the title. I wanted it to be What Happens When You Die?
Oh, yes. But crossing over captures the essence of exactly what you're saying. But I think I like your title more. What happens when you die? Maximizing 5D timelines, arriving in 5D with family and friends. And I can tell you a lot of people worry about that and pets. Resurrection and ascension. What's the next opportunity? Cleaning and clearing your 12 DNA strands and chakras, thinking in 5D practice, holding space for a remarkable 5D future, the 8D Merkeba. And then you've got some wonderful appendix items, bedtime prayer, antidote for planetary retrogrades. And then you've got the constructing an 8D Merkeba for activating your 8D Merkeba. I will not try and pronounce that word.
I did it.
Isoscedohedron.
Oh, I see. Okay. Icasa, and then dodecahedron. It's actually two shapes, the icosahedron and the dodecahedron. I don't know if you can tell. The icosahedron has like this shape of a pentagram on each face. You can kind of
Nice.
see here. And then the icosahedron has triangles on every face. And this shape is familiar to people when they think about the Chrysler symbol,
Yes.
because that's the same as the Chrysler symbol, but it's a whole shape. Both of these can inscribe a circle. Both of these are symmetrical in that they're from the center, everything is like the same distance. And their faces are all the same size and the angles are all the same. So there's only 5 shapes that fit that kind of description. But what I was shown is to nest those two together in the phi ratio. And the phi ratio is pretty important because the phi ratio is this magical relationship that we have between the bones of our body. So if you look at the little finger to the base of the palm, that would be 1. And then the distance between the little finger and the base of the palm, that's 1.6. And what's interesting is this relationship is repeated everywhere. So then this becomes 1, and then to the elbow becomes 1.6. And so it turns out that phi is found in nature.
Mhm.
It's found in the planetary distance from the sun, and it's found throughout the physical body. It's even found in the DNA. And so this magical relationship, it's not really a number, it's a relationship because it can never resolve as a fraction. It's called phi. It's also called the golden mean. And when we put those two shapes together in phi and then build this shape, it looks like this.
Ah,
Uh-huh. And the cool thing about making one of these is when you take the time to get some wooden dolls and the instructions are all there, it'll take about 3 hours to do. It puts this shape into your consciousness. And when I was told to bring this particular meditation forward, I was told, have people build it. And by building it, they will remember it. And it's also the shape that's behind me. The little
Yes.
one looks fancy, but the shape over here, it's the same. And again, I want to emphasize you have that 5 here,
Mm-hmm.
you see,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the other shape. So we have the triangles here. You can see the triangles.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And every cross is in the phi ratio, which means the smaller one represents 1 and the longer one represents 1.6. If this is 2 inches, then
Mm-hmm.
this is 2 inches times 1.6. And I'm using a shortened version of phi just to help people understand, a little over 1.5. But what's amazing, and this is kind of a crazy thing to say, but this particular proportion, like we say, okay, double a recipe. So we know if it has 1 cup, we make it 2 cups. If it has a half a cup, we make it 1 cup. We know how to do that in our head. So if you imagine a number 1 and then multiplying it by 1.6, it's a little over 1.5 times bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And that proportion is found throughout the world. And it is what I call source code.
Mm.
So once you build this magical thing called the icosahedron, it's a way for you to remember who you really are, because it's all geometry.
Yes.
Everything is geometry. And when we have these perfect forms around us, we create a template, and it allows us to step into that template in a way that helps us magnify our divinity rather than our foibles.
That is so powerful. Do you visualize the way with the Merkeba we would visualize ourselves inside? Do you
Oh,
visualize?
yes.
Got
Yes.
it. So this is, you are inside the structure.
Right. And it's not a little you in this structure. This thing is big. It's huge. So it's above your head and it's on either side of you like that. It's huge.
Amazing. Amazing. Robert Grand, and I'm sure you're familiar with Robert. He's, of course, obsessed with mathematics and sacred geometry, and he's done a lot of work on exactly what you're saying, which is when you draw something out, it transforms the essence of you. And you're sort of saying the same thing, which is you need to build this to remember who you are. And literally, as you were saying that, I was again seeing how the me is not here. The me is somewhere else. And so this body here is an avatar. And this avatar, just like the new AI, which is being given logic, and it's, Sam Altman just released yesterday on Product Hunt. Now we've got a version of AI that's got some pretty complex self-reasoning, etc. This avatar body is just that. It's nothing more than that. It's coded programs. Any brilliant insight actually comes from the original energy form that we are. And because this dimension is a mathematical dimension, playing around with sacred geometry then allows us to almost, I feel like, go back, connect the dots back into the original source code that we are.
Exactly.
Right? Like higher, I think the phrase that's used is connect with your higher self.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that helps people understand this is if you're driving down a dirt road and there's ruts in the road, your car, if it's a dirt road, will have like a channel, and your car will fall into those channels because of the fact that it's a dirt road. And when it gets muddy, these channels start to get created. If you don't want to drive in those ruts and those channels, you have to make a conscious effort not to. Your car will slide into it without any effort on your part. And you need to take control of the car. You need to take control of yourself and your life in order to not fall into the patterns of 3D that we've developed that worked for us for a time. But we're done with that game. We're now moving on to a new game.
I love it. About time. So
Hmm.
are these the end of times, or are these the beginning of times?
The continuation of
Ooh.
experience. Yeah, time is a construct, and we think of time as a linear, it's a 3D concept. In 5D, time could be in any direction. So it doesn't, you're not limited in the way we are experiencing here. And
Yes.
so that access to 5D means we can actually change the past, which
Yeah.
is another concept that is, oh my God, we can change the past. There's so many things since I, went down the deep rabbit hole that even I went, oh my goodness, how's that going to work? So those of you who are listening and thinking the same thing, don't worry, you'll figure it out. You'll get it eventually. I did. And it isn't as hard as it may seem.
And it's not even fixed. I've personally experienced with someone, I'll share it. It's just a quick story. Basically, I was in a forest meditating. I had an appointment with someone at 6:30. From the forest to her takes about 25 to 30 minutes without traffic. I overdid the meditation. I should have been in the car driving at 6. And instead, at 6, I woke up in my meditation in the middle of my forest, knowing that my run to the car would be about 15 to 20 minutes. So I text her saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but something's telling me I'm going to make it at 6:30. At 6:29, 58 seconds, I pull up into her driveway, her office driveway. And I walk in and she and I are just staring at each other like, what did I just do? How did I just pull this off? Because mathematically, it's not possible. And I was told, no, don't worry. The 6:30 time was a very, very, very critical time. Like we'd been told, no, this is the time. There is something we Indians call muhurat, where certain times, certain things can happen. Certain doorways open, certain access points are there. And we were told, nope, you need to be together, synced up at 6:30 sharp. And I was like, I can't believe it. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it. And somehow, with a 15-minute run and a 25-minute drive, I made it in 18 minutes, right? You do the math, like that's not possible. So yes, time is actually
Right.
bendable.
Time is, and that's the whole point. Time is a construct. It's fluid.
Yeah.
And just because we're accustomed to having things, happen in a certain sequence in time doesn't mean that we can't stretch time. And the proof of that is people who have been in car accidents often report that they saw everything happening in slow motion. How can
Yes.
that be?
Yeah.
Another example, time
Yeah.
moving.
Yes.
I've had numerous experiences where I've been in a vehicle, either driving or being a passenger, where I held space and was in a high state, like you were when you were meditating, and we arrive in far less time than typical. That would be an expectation. A 3-hour drive turns into an hour or something like that. It's beyond comprehension.
Yes, that you share that story in the book. So for those of you that are watching, please buy the book. Maureen shares a far more sophisticated example than mine of how she experienced a pretty significant time compression, I would say. So you and I have both experienced that. Of course, we've been able to manifest in places and time a lot less. There's another piece of this. There's a movie called Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise that's come back on Netflix. And so for those of you that are fascinated with this concept of what the heck is time anyway, watch that movie. Because in that, he dies and comes back, dies and comes back, dies and comes back. And that got me thinking, Maureen, to what extent when we talk about the 3D, 4D, 5D construct, to what extent are people who are dying now, are they being reborn in more of the anchored 5D construct? Is this why some of the newer kids that we hear on TikTok, etc., right? They're all saying crazy things like, guys, why does anyone else find it weird that we have named days Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? It's gone viral. This woman, this young girl, I think she's probably like 19 or so. And she's saying, I can't live here. This place is so strange. They have things called money. And it's almost like she's suddenly woken up and is looking around going, why have we got street names? And why is this day called a Monday? Like, who decided that? And who decided it was going to be 7 days? And a lot of people are saying the same comment, which is, wow, it looks like you've woken up in 5D. What is your thought on people that are being born now and people that are dying? Are they choosing not to come back? Is that an option?
It is an option. And well, that's one of the things I talked about in chapter 5, crossing over, that you can choose not to come back and to go on and play in other playgrounds, other planets, other star systems, and so on. And it's funny, I just saw Edge of Tomorrow. I didn't get to finish it, but I too was blown away by every time he would end up in a situation that he wasn't succeeding, that he would then die and come back in the same scene. And it really warps your brain. But so many of the movies we're seeing nowadays are helping us to recognize that time is fluid, death is fluid, and death isn't what people think it is. I have a friend whose partner recently passed, and I gave her the name of a really awesome medium. And the first thing her husband said through the medium was, "I'm alive."
Wow.
Yeah. So all bets are off because we're changing games. And, I used to say that it's like going from American football to European football. They both have a ball that they're moving back and forth to a goal, and they call it football, but it isn't the same at all. Soccer and football are completely different in the sense that soccer is more of a gentleman's game compared to our football, which is very rough and hard on the body. So we're moving from a place of not taking care of the body to a place of taking care of the body. And that includes our spiritual aspects, our mental body, emotional body, and etheric body, as well as the physical body. And that's kind of where the daily meditation comes in that you're doing with people. It's where daily practice of Qigong or some other form of martial arts comes in. It's where having a daily walk. And these are incredibly critical because we're going to take our physical bodies into 5D. This has never been done before. It is our opportunity to level up with our bodies and take the pleasure of being in a body to a higher note. And that higher note is that everything is wonderful. I remember when I worked in corporate years and years ago, there was a woman who was on my board that everyone loved. She was just a darling. And I remember asking, could I have the gift of creating that kind of harmony around me? So you can take someone that you emulate and ask for one of their qualities and to apply it to you. And this is why one of my benchmark phrases that I tell people is ask for a day of heaven on earth. Ask for a day of heaven on earth for yourself, everyone you come in contact with, and everyone you are in contract with. And it literally levels up the matrix that you hold. That means when you go in the bank, even if the person before you treated the teller badly, she takes one look at you and she's fine.
I love this line and I use it whenever I remember. I don't often remember, which is leading me to realizing I need sticky notes everywhere on my mirror and next to my bed. I think I need to take this more seriously. But with that said, in my meditations, I have used the phrase with my tribe, let's let today be heaven on earth for me and for all those I meet and touch. And so, again, from a scientific standpoint, the power of belief, the power of voice, of sound is it's so important for us to understand that what we say and what we believe is the reality we create. And so when we worry, we automatically create a reality that'll give us more to worry about.
Exactly. And that's very 3D because
Ex-
worry is based on 3D, not having enough. When we're worried that we don't have enough of something. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough patience, whatever it is. Mhm.
And what I have you noticed that sometimes you feel like you're happy and then suddenly all these weird thoughts start coming in and you go, where did this thought come from? This is, it's almost like someone's feeding me negative thoughts. And I've written about this where I know where I am. I know mentally, how I'm feeling, where my frequency is. And yet I'm starting to hear thoughts or think thoughts of worry, of fear. Maureen,
Mhm.
A, is the 3D more aggressively throwing things at those who are ascending to either anchor us, or is it that as you start to ascend, you start to hear other people's fears? And so now I'm hearing other people's fears.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we are being bombarded with thoughts that will hold us back, thoughts that are either forget, or reject. You hear something that you think, wow, that's amazing. And you start to, explore that and take it in, and then you forget it and
Yes.
you don't, and then you
Yes.
come across, you think, wait a minute, didn't I already encounter this? And
Yes.
so that's the bombardment from the outside. And then the other part of picking up other people's vibes is very true. And there are ways where you can consciously choose to be the most powerful light in the room, and that's the one people remember, rather than reading other people's fields. You certainly can have random thoughts that come in, and very often they are from other people. Very often they're coming from people that you are thinking about in that moment, and their stray thoughts, their random stuff is coming your way because you can receive it. But it doesn't mean you have to keep it. You just, as you probably are already doing, you pass it on. I mean, I say pass it on, but that's not right. You let it go and let it move to a higher plane so that it can be converted. And that's something else that people don't understand, is our dark thoughts can be converted. I
Yes.
have a client who was just in so much of a funk, and she was in a difficult place financially. She was going through a difficult separation of her partner. She didn't have a job. The list went on and on. And I went to her house for dinner one night, and she started telling me all the things that she's worried about and upset about. And I said, well, let's make a list. And we came up with 30 things. And the next day she called me and she said, I thought of a few more things. And then what I did is I took her list and I wrote the antidote to every one of those phrases. So when she said, well, I'm afraid I won't amount to anything, the antidote was, I am a woman of substance. What I do in the world matters. So then I turned it into a guided meditation. And that is on my app, Illuminate. And it's called Make Your Year a Good One.
Mm, I
And
do.
there's a very, very wonderful personal story in there. And I'd like to share it if I may.
Yes, please.
Her partner at the time was a reporter, and he had gone to interview a store owner, and his iPad disappeared. And he came home and didn't tell anybody. And a couple of days go by, and now my client is saying, where's the iPad? And he says it got stolen. And she said, well, where were you? And he told her, and she went to the shopkeeper. This was after she was doing these proactive antidote statements. Okay. So she goes to the shopkeeper and she says, look, we're, a single family where we have a baby. We don't have a lot of resources. And this is, our only piece of equipment that my husband needs to produce the TV shows that he's selling. Is there any way you could ask your staff if they know or have it, could they just return it? No questions asked. The very next day, she gets a phone call from the shopkeeper who said, I have your iPad.
Amazing.
In New York City, no less.
Amazing. Amazing. And I think those are the kind of miracle stories that are so important to share, Maureen. So we can,
Because it goes 5 day. That's a 5 day experience.
yes. And who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want to eventually transition into a space of love, joy, uh, gratitude, abundance, youth? It's how do you want to look? In 5D, you can age backwards, you can manifest health. So here's a question that I've been asked. Who are they? Who are the they that, of course, the internet's full of like, oh, the bad people, the evil people, and the dark ones and the satanic ones, and, all of that stuff. And, oh, they're keeping us down. This construct was good and bad. And this is the duality we live in. This is the dimension of duality. And now we're going to go into, the 5D, which does not have duality, but it also doesn't have necessarily all the quote unquote dark beings. And so the question that I often get is, well, who is the they? Not the they as in like, oh, the Rockefellers, but like, who is the they? Are these angels and demons? Is history true? Maureen, since you are such a deep channeler, share with us what have you concluded? What is all this about?
Um, I have been shown that the original angels, beings of light, who were put in charge of overseeing humans and human development, went against the master plan and chose to create a world where competition was the main goal. And what that did is created fear among tribes, and it caused more manufacturing, more war instruments to be built. And so technology grew. So that was an accomplishment, but it also created envy and jealousy and other kinds of things that we didn't need. In today's world, I call all of those people that fit into that category those that would have us fail. I also believe that those beings who were here are no longer here, but they left a big enough impression on a large enough group that those people, humans, have kind of denigrated to that kind of behavior. But that's all changing too. So, within the next cycle of time, I'll use that term, we're going to see that those bad actors, if you will call them that, people who have chosen to serve themselves rather than humanity, that they're just exiting, or the people who were working for those people will say, look, I never liked doing it anyway. I just did it to support my family. I want to be part of that transformation on the planet. So I think we're at a very big place of a lot of people discovering or waking up to the fact that they got in with a bad crowd, kind of like when we worry about our kids, don't hang out with those kids. They'll teach you bad stuff, but go hang out with these other kids who are, good students. So we got in with a bad crowd, and a lot of those souls then wanted to carry on what they learned until they were stopped. And they are being stopped all around us. So I think we're at the cusp of a breakthrough that will transform everything. I also believe we're at a place where the transformation is inevitable, and it's just a matter of time. Maybe it'll take, it's like watching a child learn to walk. It takes some kids, a month or two, and others weeks. So we watch. And the thing about being 5D is that you can be aware of the polarity without participating in it. You can see what's going on around you and choose to love the people anyway, not their behavior, but the people. And that's the trick, to love people anyway, whether their behavior is pleasing or not.
And that, again, most people struggle with. So during my meditations, I often get questions around, you talk about forgiveness, but if you knew my situation, you would agree with me that I should never forgive them. And, so I'll go into these conversations and say, well, I promise me, if you tell me the situation, I will convince you the other way. I will convince you that you will forgive them without even trying. And I've kind of gone down that path and helped a lot of my friends and attendees really rethink. And one of the simplest ways I say to rethink is to say, and everyone resonates with something different, but the ones that definitely resonate are, one, understanding that this is a game. There is no right, wrong. They're not hurting you. They're playing a game. They're playing a role. It's like getting mad at the villain in Edge of Tomorrow. That's ridiculous. He's playing a role. In fact, kudos. You should be saying kudos. Look what a role
Exactly.
you are doing. And
Right. What a
secondly,
great job you're doing. Scaring the heck.
yes, yes. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, I love this. Like, kudos. And secondly, understand they're only showing you where you are still weak. So,
Vulnerable. Exactly. Because if
exactly,
you're vulnerable, you wouldn't
you wouldn't care.
you exactly. I remember working uh as a CEO for a large organization, and someone said to me that I was involved with the chairman of the board of directors. And I remember bursting out laughing. I said, that's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. I've never even been alone in a room with this person.
Hmm.
And his wife is always there. And by the way, I love his wife as much as I love him. So it didn't bother me. It didn't offend me. And that's the other thing. When we take offense, it's because we're hiding. We're
Yeah.
hiding the truth. Now, it isn't always because we have shame. Sometimes we take offense because we have shame. We don't want to admit, well, don't say I'm fat because I'm ashamed that I'm 20 pounds overweight. But on the other hand, there could be another quality of wanting the person that's saying this to say nice things to you, and it has nothing to do with whether you're fat or not. But more importantly, have you told me how much you love me or how beautiful you think I am? And so those kinds of interactions can create friction in our life. But there are so many times in my own personal life with my husband that when he catches or calls me out for what he thinks is me being fussy about something or insisting, something has to be a certain way. But the way he calls me out is usually so outrageous that all I can do is laugh. And he'll say it with a funny look on his face, which is also very funny. So that's very 5D. And if we can do that in every circumstance that is challenging, that's how we stay 5D. That's how we stay in our hearts. And one of the ways to do this, you're doing lots of meditations with people, is to ask the question, to ask your guides and your angels, what am I doing that's keeping me out of 5D? What am I doing that's holding me back from being my 5D self all the time? And you'll always get an answer. You'll always be told what it is that's holding you up. And one time, many, many years ago, when I lived in San Diego, I was told, well, it's when you drive on the San Diego freeway, you have a little bit of road rage. And whoa, I didn't think I was that bad. I might mutter something under my breath or say, well, what's the matter with that guy? Can't he drive? That kind of stuff. But I wasn't swearing or flipping the bird, but I was still not saying 5D. So
Yeah.
I chose to be proactive, and I began to um, make up stories about the other drivers that I thought I didn't like. And he's in a big hurry. He needs to get where he's going. Maybe he didn't see me, those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
that, and I got good at making up stories so much that I would be laughing in the car about crazy behavior rather than being annoyed by it.
I love that. And I think that is such a great segue into what can those who are listening do based on the deep insights that you've shared in your book to accelerate this transition? Because it can take lifetime or it can be in a moment. And that decision is up to us. And of course, your book has so many wonderful tools and techniques. Maureen, which would you say, let's say three, which are the three most important things? And I know you say prayer is, of course, one. What else would you say? And what kind of a prayer? Walk our listeners through that.
Well, the bedtime prayer that's in the book is phenomenal, and it sets the stage for waking up in 5D, which says, okay, universe, no matter what's going on around me, I'm going to wake up well rested and in 5D, so that I'm going to wake up with a smile on my face. Even if I don't feel good, I'm not going to be crabby with the person I'm with. That intention when you go to bed at night is super important. And number two, the statement that I've already said is, I'm asking for a day of heaven on earth for myself and everyone I'm in contact with and everyone I'm in contract with. And then the third thing might be the decision, the choice to ask for what you really need. Ask for what you really need. I need help being more patient. I need help being a better driver so I'm not put out by other people's driving. I need help admitting my foibles. I need help accepting that I'm not perfect.
Amazing.
And that you ask of your angels, or your guides, or source, whoever you pray to. But you're seeking that help outside of where you're at.
Amazing. It's 1 o'clock. I want to be mindful of your time. Do we have some more time with you, or should we move to wrap up?
You can take some time with me. It'll be okay.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I want to talk about Merkeba more because I'm selfish and it's something. This is the part of the program where it's all about Reena's interest. So, what is the Merkeba? For most people that don't know what it is, what is the Merkeba?
Well, to begin with, it's a shape that looks like the Star of David, only in 3D. So it is two tetrahedrons. So a tetrahedron looks like this. See if you can see that.
Yeah.
And then this is two of them. And this is a shape that you build around your body, and you spin three of them simultaneously on the same axis. So you could really only see one at a time. If they weren't moving, you'd only see one. One spins to the right, that's your mental body. One spins to the left, that represents your emotional body. And the one that remains stationary is your physical body. And what you do is you create this proportion, this magical proportion that I've referred to before as the phi ratio, in a way that's connected to where we are in 3D. And what that does is allows us then to go somewhere else. We live here in a body. So like a kite has a string, we want to belong in our body. We don't want to just be leaving the body, especially because we're going to take all of this with us into 5D permanently and become our ascended master self. So the Merkaba allows you to be your 5D self right away, whether you've earned it or not. And that's why it's so special, because it gives you gifts and tools that you've been aspiring to, and now they become part of who you are. I often say it's the uniform of the fifth dimensional being, and it is a way to access your divine nature, your divine skills, and it changes everything in a really yummy, positive way. So this meditation takes 5 minutes to do, usually takes about 6 to 8 hours to learn, because we want you to learn the sacred geometry again. So it's in your consciousness, not so you memorize it, but so that you have this awareness in your consciousness. And then you do this 5-minute meditation every day, and at some point it becomes permanent. As you do it every day, you can really feel how your day is different, and it's different in a very uplifting way. And then if you skip a day or two and the field goes down, that's the best way I know to describe it, then you can tell that too, because you're thinking, oh my goodness, what's going on? So these energy fields are part of who we are. And when we activate them, we are accessing aspects of who we are that's more evolved than we might be in the moment. So the Merkaba is pretty special. And I too had experience like you, where the Merkaba, the word, the Merkaba just kept coming up and I couldn't ignore it. Like you.
Yeah. So I've been doing the Merkaba meditation, but then I forget, or the 3D makes me forget. And then, of course, I've been doing a lot of other meditations. The part about the one that you teach that I love the most is the programming. I
Mm.
love the programming. You know, I program my Merkaba to not let anything from EMF to bad vibes penetrate my core. And I program it to do XYZ. I program it to remind me. I love that line. I program it to remind me to program it again. And it reminded me that, or I connected the dots that it's all it's all code, isn't it? All of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
understanding the power that we have as coders. It's really shifting the mindset from like, I'm a victim and I just kind of am in here going through life the way it's supposed to, versus, yeah, I came with some code and maybe it was shitty code or maybe it was average code. But you know what?
I can change it.
I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to become, an expert at rewriting my code. And the Merkaba, I feel like, is such a powerful way and like a shortcut. So you offer the classes online. So for everyone who's listening, uh, you know, buy the Merkaba meditation training classes that Maureen teaches. They're amazing. Now, what is the difference between the ones that I have learned through you and the 8D Merkaba?
Well, the classic Merkaba is built on this shape,
Uh-huh.
and it is the basis for creating the 18 Merkaba, which looks like this. But again, a giant one around you.
Hmm.
And that field is sent spinning in a certain way that creates this ratio that allows you to exit the matrix. So in your meditations, you're no longer stuck inside the field of planet Earth. You can exit easily.
So is the meditation different then? Because you know how you visualize you're in this triangle at the bottom, in the triangle on the top, then the bottom spinning, the top spinning. That would not get
Oh,
me
no,
to
no, no,
this.
no. No, 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 no. I hope you're not doing that. You are not spinning the top and the bottom separately.
That's
You're
right.
you're spinning one whole system, one whole star system, star tetrahedron one way, and then a second one another way, and a
Yes.
third one stationary. You never spin these guys opposite each other. Yeah, that's
I
sometimes
may
people make.
have to redo the class. I may have to go back to my recordings because I think I have been doing it, or the top.
When you send them spinning, and see, this is something that people make the mistake, because when Drumbolo taught it, he referred to everything as male and female. And so that's how come a lot of people misunderstood, because the sun tetrahedron, the tetrahedron that
Yes.
points upward, is male, the
Yes.
earth tetrahedron is female, but the whole unit is the star tetrahedron. And there's one whole star tetrahedron that spins to the left, and that's female, one whole star tetrahedron that spins to the right, that's male, and one whole star tetrahedron that doesn't move, and that's physical. So what I do is I give them their other name, and that's the only name I use. So when we talk about the sun tetrahedron and the earth tetrahedron, and then we say, okay, it's one unit, and then one whole unit of sun and earth is the emotional body spinning to the left, and one whole star and earth, sun and earth tetrahedron is the emotional or physical mental body, and that spins to the right, and a third star tetrahedron doesn't move.
Amazing. That's a very different visual, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Now,
and again, you got to get this idea of counter rotating fields. And
yes.
if you could see it, but we're spinning it so fast, you're not able to physically see it in your mind's eye. And you can't really imagine it, but you could imagine it in slow motion. And if you could see it in slow motion, it would kind of look like this.
Oh,
You'd see the energy moving around you. One whole system is moving one way, and then one whole system is moving the other way, but they're not moving equally. One is moving much faster than
right.
the other.
That's right. That's right. So, of course, I have to ask, where all have you traveled in your magical Merkaba?
Um, you can travel in the dream time. You can travel to other planets. You can travel to higher dimensions and learn things. Um, there is something about the Merkaba that allows you to bring back information that you might not understand in 3D, but it translates it for you so that you have access to data or understanding. There are many times that when you're actively doing your Merkaba that you will know things, but you won't know how you know. So that
Mm,
is a result of traveling in your Merkaba.
fascinating. And you talk about the angels. So the second word that I downloaded was Uriel, Archangel Uriel. When I kept saying, tell me who you are, tell me who you are, tell me you're right after Merkaba, about 2 weeks after that, I was still pretty insistent. I was like, nope, I need a name. Give me a name. And I didn't know what Uriel was. And I said Uriel, and they said, nope, it's Uriel. So I knew this wasn't me making stuff up in my head because it was like Uriel, Uriel. I was like, okay, I got it, Uriel. So I Google, and of course I fall off my chair because it's an archangel. It's a beautiful archangel. And I'm like, wait, what? There's an angel talking to me? What is happening? Keep in mind, this was my first experience with any of this. And so I spent and this was right before I had taken your classes. So you have a little prayer that's with Archangel Uriel, and Archangel Uriel is very dear to me. So why him? Why did you quote his prayer?
Well, I wrote a couple of guided meditations around the angels,
Mhm.
and I have always worked with angels. So I wrote the meditation, Seven Archangels and the Wheel, which is kind of a fun, hot topic kind of angel meditation. And then I wrote a more traditional meditation called the seven,
Seven
and
Archangels, the wheel meditation.
well, the wheel is one meditation, and then the other one is um, the meditation to the archangels.
Ah,
And that one shows the traditional picture of two cherubs on the front of it. But these are all in the app.
yes.
So Uriel is the angel that carries a lot of capacity to get things done. So it's very cool that you were inspired by and created this connection with Uriel because his job is to help you break through and complete things.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that book, I better complete that book. I'll take a minute and share.
Yeah. If you go to the app, and I'm pretty sure you have it already,
Oh, yes.
you look up the meditation called Meditation to the Archangels. And it would be the third track because there's an intro. The first one is Archangel Michael, and the second one is Uriel. And every one of the archangels have divine complements. So there's an inference in that meditation that they are there as well, even though we're not naming them. And then
Amazing.
the seven archangels in the wheel is kind of, it was more of a lighthearted, fun, funny kind of way to look at the archangels and what they can do for you. And so, people have a preference for what they like better. Sometimes people do both.
Mm. I'll read this one if everyone wants to close their eyes. It says, Archangel Uriel, assist me with materializing my divine plan. Bring harmony between my awareness and the reality and the ideal. I love that. I love that. And then I love this line, reminder, if you believe it, it is real. If you believe it, it is real. If you believe it, it is real. I can't tell you how many times I have to say this, especially to my daughters, my 25-year-old and my 19-year-old. You have to believe it because when you believe it, it's real. The key to 5D is to challenge what you have believed in order to make room for a new belief system, a new expression in your reality. And I genuinely believe that that is the hardest battle that every human is going to have to fight for themselves.
That's
It,
right. Exactly right. And we use belief to keep us safe, to help us frame the reality we're in. So to let go of what we believe in and allow for something new is pretty scary until you frame it it's a game. It's just a game.
Exactly. New rules, new game design. What do you want this new game design to be? What avatar do you want to play? What role do you want to play? And I love this other line. It's time to move into your place of unconditional love, because the new realm is a realm of unconditional love. It's a realm of telepathy, because the only way telepathy can sustain itself is when everyone's thoughts are of pure love and of service and of giving. You can't have telepathy activated if everyone's got thoughts just of themselves and of hurting. Can you imagine if you and I had that telepathy, and then I was thinking bad thoughts and you're thinking bad thoughts and we're not picking up? It would just be a mess. So that's when I realized, oh, telepathy can only work when we have all graduated to a space where we are all thinking, what can I do for you? I am here to serve you. What can I do to bring a smile to you? And that's kind of a big part of the Choose Bliss movement that we've started. We're going to work with students. We're going to work with children. We're going to work with those with anxiety. If we can start teaching everyone to be in that place of unconditional love. Someone gets mad at you, you go hug them and you say, what happened? Having a bad day? Let me give you a hug. So it's going to take time, but Maureen, your book is instrumental in guiding us, inspiring us, and taking us to this new, beautiful heaven on earth that we are all going to exist in. So thank you for coming on the show today.
My pleasure.
Any parting guidance, any parting advice?
Remember that you're not alone. You're
Ooh,
never.
I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Maureen. Everyone, go buy the book, Living Your Best 5D Life. It is a beautiful read. I love it. You'll have a pen in hand and you'll be underlining and circling things. And it's going to become your guide as you transition into this place of pure, unconditional love. Maureen, I love you. Thank
I love
you.
you too, Reena. It's a real pleasure. Thank you for your time.